want to reduce the population. That's what depopulation is all about, if you heard that term. They say they don't want more than 500 million. They want to keep us literally as a herd of cattle for the purpose of making sacrifices to their God, or cannibalizing us. Yeah. So they want to reduce us so that they can control us.
Yes.
I think it's interesting that, one of the points that you brought up, and I've said this to a select few people, mainly when we've had discussions here, but certain friends. I kind of broke down how society has changed a little bit before the Bush era. I think that two of the most pivotal moments where society make drastic changes. Number one is when we developed long distance traveling, like the automobile was able to go for long distance. That took out community within people. You used to be able to know your neighbors, everybody in your neighborhood, whatever you considered your community, your tribe or whatever. And then, people started, like you said, as we progressed, people started leaving to go to college, moving to get a better job, living in the city instead of outside. I think that was one of those moments. And then one of them was one that you mentioned that I'm glad someone outside of our family feels the same way. And it was when the mom left the home to go get a job.
Yes.
I'm all for empowering women. I have nothing against that at all, but that's the first thing that everybody goes to is like, oh, so you think that the woman should be home? No, like I never said anything like that. But when they developed when the bank said, hey, let's get people in debt and keep them in debt, the mother had to go get a job. And so she left. And then that unity inside the household started to change little by little. So the mom wasn't home. Hey, this is the schedule. We're going to do homework. We're going to do this, and have that system. And then people slowly, it started shifting into, after school care or somebody taking care and raising your kids. That kind of started happening. And those were two of the most pivotal moments where, I'm a firm believer in unity. And those were the two moments that started first separating us as people, and then second was separating us as family. And I'm glad that someone else that we've never even talked about that.
It's the mind of Christ. Yeah. It's the truth of God. Actually, I just recently did an alternate translation of Romans 1, 2, and 3. I think it's chapter 2. It actually came out in the alternate translation. That truth.
Wow.
Yeah, and I did a bit of a study about the women at home. It turned out to be that one scientist believes that when the war happened, I think it was in late 1920s or something around that time frame, a lot of men passed away or they were lost and not returned home. And so a lot of women were forced to leave their home to provide for their own. And that was the beginning of that. Yeah. And then, of course, with the culmination of the whole thing about putting us in debt, that started in the 40s and making sure that we all stay in debt. So I think the one after the other just kind of, it started it and then it sealed it.
I mean, you could see it. The houses started costing more, the cars started costing more, and now you need two incomes to survive. Unless college works for some people, staying in a company long enough works for some people. But for the majority of the 90 whatever percent of people, it's hard to, live off of one income. Nowadays somebody makes $17 an hour and they're like, that's nothing,
Also, the Industrial Revolution changed everything.
Yeah.
Because before the Industrial Revolution, women really could not compete with men physically. But with the Industrial Revolution, women can pretty much do anything a man can do.
Rosie the Riveter comes to mind.
Yeah.
Some things better. Some things require women's intellect and emotional balance that not balance, but levels that you guys can do that we just can't.
I also like to mention that along with Pastor Sheila, there's an elder from the ministry. Her name is Sandra Eldridge, and I would love for her to say hello.
Hello. Yes, well, I'm thankful to be here. I'm traveling with my pastor to the area, and the way that this worked out was just awesome. Just to be able to meet you guys and have some good fellowship and know that we're all on this journey together and finding out how we can get out of our own way so that Christ can grow in us. And that's one thing I appreciate about the ministry. This ministry, I've been in this ministry probably about 12 years now. So, and our pastors really taught us about what the carnal mind is versus the Christ mind, and to be able to identify and distinguish between the two in ourselves as it's manifesting, so that we can address it and chase after it until it's gone, and then on to the next area, ultimately.
It's a good way to word it.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
I'd like to share something quickly, because something you said triggered something in me. I had a dream like 2-3 days ago. It's very short, but I would like to share. So if there's something that the Lord gives you, so you can, because it might not be for me. Maybe that dream was because of this night that we're having together. But I was very disturbed in my spirit because it was short. It was a girl, black hair, short hair, and it was like 8, 9, maybe no more than 10. She was not even 10 years old. And I was observing her, and I was between plants or trees. Something was covering me. She could not see me, but I could see her clearly. And then she was walking, looking for something to devour. And then I realized that she was a cannibal. And then she found animals, and she was tearing them apart and eating them with the blood and everything. And I was like, oh my God. And then I keep looking and following.
This was a dream you had?
A dream. And then I keep looking and following her to see what else she was going to do. And she's still looking. And then she saw another girl, almost her same age. And then she pursued her and then start playing with the girl. And the girl thought she was a friend. And then they start playing. And she was enticing her. And then she were playing. And all of a sudden, she pushed her on the chest against the floor. And when she pushed her against the floor and the girl fell down, she took her head and ripped it apart. And then the girl died right there. Wow. And when the girl died, she started eating her flesh. And it was so gross and so hard for me, my spirit, that I woke up and I was like, oh my God, what kind of dream is this? So it was a very weird dream. And then when you mentioned something about, you said a word that I remember that dream.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about. She said something about us being cattle, and then you said that we would
be sacrificed.
Right after
human sacrifices.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it wasn't human sacrifices.
Yeah,
but
she mentioned
used something
about human
made
sacrifices.
us sound like what you're talking about.
Their purpose for keeping us is for human sacrifice and cannibalism.
Cannibalism.
Yeah, you mentioned the word, and then I remember that dream.
Couldn't pinpoint it for some reason. I'm usually good at that.
Yeah. So I don't know why, because I normally don't have those kind of dreams. I mean, I go to sleep at peace, and I normally talk to Wilfredo, and he puts some music, worship, and I always fall asleep in a very nice thing, a very
I would imagine that you normally would have woke up the second that she was like ripping apart animals and stuff. You would have woke up like,
I would.
So
well, I just pursued her, but she could not see me because I was hiding behind some plants or something, foliage, and then she could not see me. But I saw that she was like searching, and then that happened. Oh, I don't know.
Interesting.
That was really weird.
Yeah, it's not normal for you to
those kind of dreams.
What that was about.
But anyway,
I'm not gonna be amazed if that happened, because it's when you read or study the Old Testament, you'll see that why the Lord was all the time stressing about idols and false god and even Baal, and remember the human sacrifice, kids, they throw them through the mouth, and then they end up in the furnace of fire, and God was against that human sacrifice, and it's gonna come back. Who knows how it's gonna be? But I know this time that we're living, that's happening, but they keep it enclosed indoor.
Becoming more and more animalistic.
But one of the things that I hate every year when it comes around is Halloween. And, I'm amazed how believers or Christians, and even in churches, they celebrate these things and they don't know what they're celebrating. And some of them, they know.
And they don't care.
Yeah. They keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And so many paganism today that, the correction or judgment needs to start with the people of God.
Yes, absolutely.
Because if then we fill our mouth saying that we are the light of the world.
Not today, we're not.
Hello, it's time to wake up.
Yes.
Smell the coffee.
I mean, the manipulation is so precise that they use candy so that you involve the kids at a young age, number one. And number two, the parents are like, I do this for my kids, though,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so...
Yeah. Now, Jesus said...
Best marketing team.
Jesus said in the last day, it's going to be like the days of Noah. And in the days of Noah, evil was really rampant. I mean, it was all over. And I'm trying to figure out the dream that I had
there.
And what we're talking about with the carnal mind, how it's, and the image of Christ is slowly, and then the image of Lucifer is taking, a different form and shape. But I also read, I don't have with me the information, and I don't like to talk when I don't have the information for sure, but I read somewhere that the demons or the spirits that they were operating during the time of the flood, before the flood, that they will come back again because they were held captives for a season, and the season is over, so they should be released at any moment. Maybe they already have been released, and probably that's kind of cannibalism. Yeah, it's a very hard word for Spanish-speaking people. It's what the Lord is showing me, that probably that's the next step soon. I mean, the people are going to be doing that even on the open.
Well, that's true, but I think it's already, it is happening in the natural, but that is what's happening spiritually. I think the Lord was showing you that it's happening in the church right now, and that one that was destroyed is Christ. Wherever he's appearing, he's being destroyed, he's being consumed. And that is by Lucifer, and that is who Lucifer is. Lucifer is the counterpart of the man-child. Okay? He's the counterpart of Christ. So wherever Christ is appearing, because, and if I start that, we'll be here for hours.
It's okay. We can split it in A, B, and C.
Okay. This is the root of the message of Nathaniel that the Lord gave me this morning. Israel is a spiritual nation. Okay, I'll try to make this as abbreviated as I can. When Adam sinned, he died, and he broke into parts. The Kabbalah say his limbs fell off, but he broke into many pieces, or soul sparks. Some rabbis say he broke into soul sparks, and those soul sparks are incarnate in humanity today. See, but every human being is not the house or the vessel that contains a soul spark of Israel. So the solution to the spiritual criminality that's overtaking this country and the world today is Israel. Israel is God's solution. So some people in the church and in the conference that we're attending now are saying, where is God? Where is God? God, as I understand it, is not about to appear supernaturally in the sky and deliver us. God has a plan. He has a weapon, and we will suffer until that weapon manifests. And the reason it's taking so long to manifest is the disobedience of Israel. Okay. Israel, spiritual Israel, is the church. Spiritual Israel is the church. Israel is not identified by any physical attribute whatsoever. Israel is spiritual Israel. He's buried right now. I know what I'd like to say. We'll be here all night. Okay. Okay, so what the Lord knows what's going on. Okay, he hears the cries of the people, those that even recognize that something's wrong. And his sole goal is to awaken Israel in the people where those roots exist, because the root of Israel cannot overtake the human being. The human being has to work in tandem, has to work together with this spiritual root to make that person into the Son of Man, actually, the Son of God. Jesus said, I am the Son of God, and I am the Son of Man. We're actually waiting for the Son of Man to come into existence, to stand up and become a supernatural person, a company of supernatural people that will overthrow the Luciferian spirit that's overtaking humanity. But that Luciferian, but the people are not educated, and the church, they're not really the church that controls the TV and the radio and the big money that preaches is preaching a false message. So the true message is here. It's right here tonight. Okay, how come nobody hears us? Because the church is carnal. See, they should be hearing this message by the Spirit, you see, but they don't. So the church is dying. The people that have the root of Christ, okay, this message is supposed to be going out as a spiritual vibration, like a dog whistle, that only a dog can hear. Wherever Christ is, they're supposed to be hearing this vibration, but they don't hear it, or if they hear it, they don't recognize it, and they try to kill it. They turn against it and try to kill it. They think it's witchcraft, or they're afraid of it.
The same thing that Revelation chapter 12, the woman.
Yes.
That the serpent came to destroy.
Yes.
Wanted to destroy the man-child
Exactly.
as soon as it born.
That's what you saw in the Spirit. So where Christ is awakening, the people are not educated. They don't hear the message. They don't have this understanding. And the Luciferian spirit is stalking them and destroying them because they don't even know what's happening. They want to be friends. Okay, that was in your dream. They want to be friends. Then all of a sudden, they're murdered. So that's what I think your dream was. And so what are we waiting for right now? What is the solution? We're at this conference right now. We're so frustrated. The Lord sends us to these conferences to make whatever context He wants us to make. And we're so frustrated. This is my 4th conference this year. I went to one in August, one in September, one in October, and now one in November. And the people ask the question, what can we do to help ourselves? No answer. No. The guy today said endure. If you're not raptured, endure. Just lead a good life. The answer is that you have to, number one, as Wilfredo said earlier, you have to repent. Knowing the message, okay, will not do you any good if you don't deal with your sin nature, because your sin nature is the dragon that's trying to destroy the Christ child of Revelation chapter 12. So it's a twofold process. And it's not the behavioral sins. That goes without saying, that you don't steal, you don't murder, you don't lie, although a lot of Christians do. You don't lie, you don't fornicate, you don't bear false witness. That goes without saying, okay? This is the mystery, to identify the dragon in us, which is the fallen Adam.